This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about. Real, honest, entertaining, live. DBL starts right now.
Welcome to Daily Blast Live. It's Monday. Hi, guys. September 23rd.
What's up?
Good morning.
You said that in an interesting order.
That was weird. Okay. Sorry. And I'm here with Al and Lindsay and Brandon. I'm Tori. Let's get right to it. Hollywood loves an award show, but are people still tuning in? Well, Billy Porter made Emmys history when he became the first openly gay black man to win Best Actor in a drama series for his role on Pose. Jarrell Jerome, at 21 years old, took home the award for Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited Series for his role in When They See Us. You gotta watch this.
This is for the men that we know as the Exonerated Five. It's for Raymond, Yusuf, Antron, Kevin, and King Corey Wise.
Now we're all crying. Okay, and the most emotional moment was when Alex Borstein dedicated her award for Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series to her grandma. Take a look at this.
To my grandmother, Naji, they are immigrants. They are Holocaust survivors. My grandmother turned to a guard. She was in line to be shot into a pit, and she said, "What happens if I step out of line?" And he said, "I don't have the heart to shoot you, but somebody will." And she stepped out of line. And for that, I am here, and for that, my children are here. So step out of line, ladies. Step out of line.
I mean, right? Like, okay, so now I'm a mess. Sorry. But both beautiful speeches. I also really liked Michelle Williams when she spoke about a woman of color and listening to her work. But all of this is great. Are we over award shows, though? Did anyone really care to watch?
So I didn't even turn the TV on, but I got a play-by-play from my mom. She told me every moment that was happening. But the reason I didn't is because the shows that I love never get the awards. I don't know if you guys feel the same way. I love Power. I love The Wire. Never got Emmys, never even nominated. So
are you saying that you feel that there's something about that that's racial? Like a black ensemble cast
I don't know, because I see Jarrell Jerome and, you know, those moments, the Exonerated Five, or the Central Park Five was all black cast. So I don't want to go that far.
Sure.
And we have made strides when it comes to diversity in these award shows, but
that's interesting.
Bored.
I think the difference between the shows you said that you liked and the Central Park Five or When They See Us, it was so trendy. Everyone was on board with that. Everyone was retweeting it. It was all up and down our timeline.
Maybe The Wire wasn't on Twitter yet.
But honestly, Tori, everyone, and I want to see what you feel, how you feel about this, Al. I think that middle America, or the people who are watching these shows, do not want to watch these shows because they don't want to see any sort of politics or any step out of line. They don't care if your character has controversy, but they don't want you coming up there and using your platform to create.
I definitely think
do you
there's
think
something
it's that,
to it.
or also I'm sick of watching people like congratulate themselves?
I don't know if it's that. I think it might be just as simple as like there are now over 400 like brand new programming out there.
Yeah.
People don't know these shows. How many times have people been like, "How are you not watching this?" And you're like, "I've never even heard of that." So now you don't have that. You're not tuning in like this is 1985, where it's the Dukes of Hazzard versus the Love Boat, and everybody they're all pulling 30 shares in the market, so everybody in the country, so everybody can kind of talk. I'm like, Fleabag won, great. What's that? People don't watch things, and it's not because you have 3 or 4
it's like
shows.
Name recognition almost.
Right, definitely.
Interesting. All right, DBL Nation, let us know. Well, with her book coming out tomorrow, Demi Moore opens up to Diane Sawyer on Good Morning America about a time when her mother prostituted Demi out. She was raped at 15 years old for $500. Take a look.
I don't think it was a straightforward transaction, but she still did give him the access and put me in harm's way.
So I just want to ask, now we know more about Demi Moore. Does that kind of explain several of these? She's had sort of an erratic relationship history. Does that sort of explain that?
I think it gives you some empathy for her. You know, understanding somebody's history and background, you can kind of understand them more. We might have looked at her choices like Ashton Kutcher, like what's going on, you know? But I think now you're like, okay, this is just someone just trying to find their way.
Yeah.
And I think it's her freeing herself.
Yeah.
Because back when she was going through all this, we weren't as transparent as we are now. So had she said something like that back then, some people would have been like, oh, I can empathize with you.
So but you think the freedom's there now?
The freedom is there. She's letting it all out in this memoir.
Are you surprised by this, Al?
I'm surprised. It's just, I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, we covered the story on Friday. What was it? 1 in 16 women said that their first, I will not use the term sexual, their first experience with violence is through rape.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is just math. This is math. My mother, everybody, like it's people in your immediate circle. It's people that you know. So yeah, it's a story that we have coming up in 2 more note cards.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I'm sad that I can't be surprised. It kills me that I'm not surprised. And it scares me as a father of a daughter that I'm not surprised. Yeah.
And I always say, gentlemen and females, talk to your parents. Find out if something happened. Maybe they want to open up, because that generation didn't do what we do now, I think.
Right, and they couldn't.
They couldn't, exactly. Well, the woman at the center of one of the most talked about sexual assault cases, speaking of that, she's finally revealing herself. All right, you guys might remember Brock Turner. He was convicted of 3 felony sex crimes, but only served 3 months in jail. Well, now his victim is speaking out on 60 Minutes. Watch her.
Because instead of investigating the crime that's at hand, we interrogate the victim and go after her character. And you just have to sit on the stand while this is happening, and nobody can object. Nobody can say that's enough. I can't say don't talk to me like that. You just take it.
First off, bravo for her coming forward, because when you humanize something like that, it changes people's opinions, right? I just want to ask you, we all went to college. Is college sexual assault just totally different than not normal, but adult sexual assault? Because I always felt, to be honest, it wasn't taken as seriously. The college police didn't take it as seriously. Things weren't investigated as seriously. I'm not putting Michigan down. I'm saying I feel a trend in that college environment.
I think because when you're in college, you still fall under that umbrella of boys will be boys. And then you think about, oh, it's a frat party. What are you doing during keg stands? You're the only girl at a frat party. You know what I'm saying? So they use college to do exactly what she just explained, kind of victimize. But social injustice, here we go. Brock Turner does only, a couple weeks, and Brian Banks, the former, he played in the NFL for a little bit, but he was the best football player in high school, had a scholarship to go to USC and was wrongfully accused. He didn't have the attorneys. He didn't have the money to buy the legal counsel that Brock Turner could have, and it ultimately ruined his life and ruined his career. Social injustice.
And we've come a long way, I believe, since the case, even from when I was in school. I think that we have prosecuted these cases even further, but it disturbs me that it seems like when it comes down to males of color, the prosecution, like at Baylor University, Tevin Elliott is in jail for 20 years. Now, both are wrong, but 3 months and 20 years are 2 different cases, so that confuses me about how we're moving forward.
Yeah, I'm just really glad the judge was taken off the court, which the first time since like 1982 that's ever happened because of that. But I want to ask the DBL Nation, those who went to college, did it feel like things were taken more seriously or less seriously? Because in my feeling, the girls had to cover their cups. We got each other's back. There wasn't a sense that the cops were really there. What do you feel?
I mean, hopefully, just with more transparency. Like, think about this case would have been swept under the rug even 5 years ago. So the fact that we're still speaking Brock Turner's name almost a year later and the judge did face consequences means something.
Yeah, there's progress.
I always say we have to take a step back and just realize we are moving. Slowly, fast enough, absolutely not, but we are moving forward. And what I'd like to see is just, I'd like to see the next time this happens, and unfortunately it will, I don't know if we need to make an example out of somebody, but jail is a deterrent. And if, believe me, the little frat guys notice that he got 2 months, if the next guy gets 15 years, the behavior will start to change. Trust me. Jail is a deterrent.
Wow. Wow, that's a good
They just
point.
know it's not on the table, and Brock Turner proved it.
Yeah, especially because he was a great swimmer.
Right.
Cheers. All right, imagine this story, guys. This gets me, and I don't know how to feel. It makes me nauseous. One of the happiest days of your life ending in just total tragedy. That's what happened to this man. This is Stephen Weber. He was trying to propose to his girlfriend at an underwater resort in Tanzania. He was holding up signs in plastic bags asking for her hand in marriage. He had the ring, but tragically, he never came back up. Stephen Weber drowned, and his girlfriend posted this video on Facebook. His family is still searching for answers. Now, first off, we just want to say how sorry we are. This is an awful tragedy. He never got to hear her say yes in person, which is just bothering me. But do you post this on Facebook?
I can't imagine, because this is the happiest day, probably, one of the happiest days of her life. And so you want
And
to
I don't
share.
wanna hate on your- you're right, I don't
Right,
wanna
and
hate
you
on
want to go through trauma in your own way. So she's probably grieving and dealing with it the way that she knows how. The only thing I want to read is that there was an off-color comment
Yeah,
that was
there's a
on
joke
Facebook
here, right?
that when she posted in her "I miss you, I love you," she also said he's probably entertaining someone with a story about how he royally screwed up that proposal and died while being extra. So if you're his mother or sister looking at this post of him swimming around knowing that he never came back up, I mean, I would be offended and hurt. And I know she's grieving, so I don't want to attack the way that she's grieving, but it still would hurt me a lot to see that.
It's also like Pixar didn't happen. Like, why can't this, and maybe you're right, I don't want to go down that path, you're right. But like, why post it and then sort of be funny about it? Doesn't that rub you guys the wrong way, or is this just me and Lindsay?
I mean, it rubs me the wrong way because I think that these gender reveals and these proposals are getting a little out of hand. I mean, we did a story last year in Arizona with the gender reveal. It started a wildfire.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes just being old and traditional and just being like, hey, this may be boring, but will you marry me?
Did you just ask Al to marry you?
You better get all the way down.
But you know, I'm making light of the situation. I just think it's becoming too much. Certain people, too many people are putting their lives and other people's lives at risks.
Wow.
Yeah, I will say something. I'm not trying to be contradictory, but I do think this might be an age thing. I think that, like, if you know, when my father passed away, I don't think I put anything on Facebook.
Right.
I think that certain things are personal, but I'm 42, so I lived half my life without the internet.
Yep.
If all I know, all my kids are gonna know is anything that happens to you. I got into college, I got rejected. You post everything.
Pixar didn't happen.
Yeah, it's a little bit different. So I just think it's all what you're used to. I'm just used to kind of internalizing it. And who knows? You look at the way the generation of my men handle stress and emotional trauma. We bury it and go to the bar instead of getting it out and on Facebook. So maybe they're doing better.
Way to bring up that other point, Al.
Thank you.
Did you know today was Monday?
I did not.
What happened
It's
today?
Other Point Monday.
Oh, I see. We're going to talk about this in the break, guys.
We need a little Chiron.
No
what happened today? All right. We have to give a big DBL shout out to this 21-year-old college student. He was the only employee working at a hotel in Beaumont, Texas during a huge flood. He ended up working a 32-hour shift alone, and all the hotel guests were counting on him for everything. They're calling him a hero. He cooked their meals. He did everything. His dad couldn't come to get him.
I'm calling him rich because he better get paid as the concierge.
Yeah,
he better
right?
get paid as the maid,
We're getting some
the
claps.
chef,
Yeah.
whoever, the window washer, get paid, young man.
And the head of the advertising campaign. You see that smile on it?
You look adorable.
Yeah.
Biggest shout out to you. Well, DBL is live coming up. A troubled gang member turns his life around and becomes a surgeon. Talk about Monday motivation. And you, the viewer, you're our fifth host. A debate about spanking ignites on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So is it ever okay to spank your child? Your comments, ooh, they're coming in next.
What my daughter's
DBL Nation, happy Monday. Kelly Schubert here with the DBL digital team. I love that story, that kid we just gave a shout out to. So cool. He was there with a bunch of guests. His dad usually drops him off at 2 p.m. He stays until 11 to do his work day. And he was stuck there, so he cooked all the food for all these guests, helped them with anything they need. I mean, imagine keeping a bunch of hotel guests calm, all on your own. Props to that kid, that's awesome. All right, guys, over here, let's see what our hosts are doing on this Monday. Hey guys, what's happening up here?
What's up? So here's the deal. I do want to get this out on the show, but on the break. What happened today? You thought today was what?
I am doing a national radio conference in Dallas.
He's on top of it.
And I thought the flight was today and it's tomorrow. And it's weird, man, because did I not tell you this? No. That's why I was so late this morning. I'm just sitting around, and Patty, the producer, called me. She's like, hey, where are you at? I'm like, I'm at home.
What are you doing?
I was like, my flight's today, and she was like, I don't think so. I was like, let me check this. Yeah, but Patty, so I knew something was weird yesterday because I tried to check in for my flight, and it was just like, it was like you have to be within 24 hours. I was like, that's weird. You know, but like you just don't process.
You're not thinking about it, yo.
Yeah, man. So then I checked my itinerary. I was like, Patty, I'm on my way.
Listen, late entrance is a good entrance.
Oh, man.
It's gotta come in like.
Yeah. Good, though.
Hi. Okay, so what I'm doing now is getting to lip.
Yes.
Getting a lip.
Getting some put on. Hey, how you guys doing?
It's
What's
Jermaine.
that?
Hi, welcome to our Emmy break. We didn't talk about the Emmys that really, huh?
We did, but we have more interesting things to say about
I have so much to say about that.
Favorite dress for us, I think for me, Zendaya.
I think Zendaya. It's a tie between Zendaya and Niecy Nash for me.
Niecy Nash killed it with the pink, and her waist looks snatched. She was in Christian Siriano in pink glitter, and that girl is awesome.
And she had this beautiful head wrap on,
thing.
super tight bob cut. It was amazing. Niecy, if you watching, girl,
you look good. You look good. She looked better than I do.
Christian Siriano too.
You know, he has like everybody now.
Everyone.
Welcome back to DBL. It's time for Fifth Host when we talk about what you're talking about. All right, this all went down on Keeping Up with the Kardashians. Kourtney Kardashian's nanny quit after her 6-year-old Penelope lashed out, scratching her caretaker. And it's sparking a heated debate. So check this out.
You would whoop Penelope's if she scratched you?
I would give her a spanking for sure.
My daughter? What are you talking about?
Scratch me
You
in my
would whoop
face.
my daughter's if she touched a little 6-year-old girl?
Whew, heated. So, DBL Nation, is it ever okay to spank your kids? And also, let's just say, tell others to spank theirs, or I would spank theirs. Go ahead, Lindsay.
Okay, so Lori from Facebook says, it's important that children understand consequences when you hit someone and to experience that firsthand. So, Lori, I got spanked growing up my whole life. I got spanked by my aunt, my uncle, my parents, and I turned out just fine. So I think it's up to the parent to make that decision, but I wouldn't tell somebody else that I would hit their kid, especially if I'm Corey, who's like dating the mom and the family and not really even related. So he went too far.
Crossed the line.
Yeah.
You turned out just fine?
You think so? I don't know. You let me know.
Candace from Facebook says, research gives us very clear results. Kids who are spanked are less emotionally healthy than kids who aren't. Plus, kids who are spanked behave worse over time. But at the same time, a kid who scratches someone and I feel as though doesn't get spanked is going to continue to do that behavior. I feel as though the lady from the first one, Lori, they need to learn some sort of discipline, some sort of consequence. Now, in today's age, you can't touch them, but it's like the NFL. You can't touch anybody, but at the same time, discipline needs to be instilled.
Yeah, but does it come from a 6'5" ex-football player?
He shouldn't get the kids.
I know you don't, but if you were, I mean, you're an adult. I mean, that's like getting beat up by a superhero. Like, honestly, like somebody that can pick you up by one hand, so you have to really be careful about that. All right, let's get to this.
And also, you're the only one with kids on this panel, so let's make that clear. Go ahead.
All right, I don't claim them, though. Jules from Facebook says, keyword, your kids. Corey has no kids. He has never raised any. He should shut up. All right, you had me right there to the end, Trick Daddy. Wow. It was a really...
I just realized what you said.
Wow. No, I mean, I understand that you come with passion because when you start talking about putting your hands on another person's kids, let's not forget we had the football player Adrian Peterson who went to spank his child and
sat out a year.
Yeah, he hit him so hard he caused permanent damage to that child. I'll just leave it at that. So it's like when you're hitting somebody out of anger, especially somebody 6 times smaller than you, I just think it could lead to nothing but bad things. So it makes me really worried enough where I don't spank my children.
Interesting take. All right, well, Pat from Facebook says a good swat on the backside is a great lesson. Timeout does not work. Look, I don't have kids. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Some people were spanked. I was never spanked. I was talked about in my feelings and all of that. But here's the deal. Don't tell someone else that I'm going to touch your child. End of discussion. Hard stop.
Fair.
Point. Like, unacceptable. All right, well, Queer Eye's Jonathan Van Ness is opening up in his new memoir. What's going on, Raquel?
Well, Tori, Jonathan Van Ness says he's been HIV positive since he was 25. He talked to the New York Times about what it was like learning about his condition, saying that day was just as devastating as you would think it would be. I want people to realize you're never too broken to be fixed. The Queer Eye star also reveals he's had nightmares for months at the thought of being this vulnerable with people, but he hopes it'll break the stigma surrounding HIV. His book, Over the Top, comes out tomorrow.
I think this is fantastic because I think there's still a huge stigma with people with who are HIV positive or with AIDS. And someone just celebrated their 100th birthday, a Portuguese man who is HIV positive.
Wow.
So living is a much different, I mean, with Magic Johnson, there's a much different sentence now for people.
And that stigma is still surrounded around the gay community as well. So like you said, he's doubling down, not only checking 2 boxes, being someone that's LGBTQ+, and then at the same time also trying to break down that stigma. Magic Johnson.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of weight on his shoulders.
Yeah, but somebody that's out there.
Yeah.
Like I went to his concert. My girl Michelle opens up for him, and I went and I was backstage. And when he walks out there, it's like the Beatles are walking.
Yeah.
I mean, people are screaming. He's hugely famous, and he's out there and being transparent. So
It's
good on him.
fantastic. Good on him. That's right. Well, coming up on DBL, from the streets to the surgery room, a young doctor is proving anything is possible if you try next in Heart Threads. So the Masoko just wrote in saying it seemed that Lord Disick, he calls himself Lord Disick, he calls him the Lord. I love the Lord. Was asking for Corey's opinion, and Corey gave him his opinion. I think Penelope will have bigger issues growing up other than if she did or did not have spankings. Which is also, here's the deal. I didn't love Scott Disick, but what I really liked to see was Scott Disick and Courtney stick together and be co-parent and say that is completely unacceptable. So no matter what you think, Masoko, do you think it's ever okay to say that I would hit or spank or touch your child if they scratched me? Because that to me is hard stop, unacceptable, and very unreasonable to say. And I thought Kris Jenner kind of should have said something too. So very strange. They did talk it out and they had a big discussion about it. But if you spank in your family, you have timeouts in your family. You have quiet time in your family. That's your family. I'm not going to be in your household, but I'm certainly not going to allow someone to say I will do that to your kid.
But have you seen those kids that just continue kicking?
Some kids are the
just gremlins.
Honey, I agree with you.
But also, I'm not a mom.
Right, and you would never allow someone else to say that, I think, about your...
Welcome back to DBL. Now today's Heart Threads is all about a former gang member who turned his life around. Watch how he got on a different path, eventually becoming a doctor.
This gang member turned doctor is proving that people can change. At the age of 6, Louis Godoy's parents immigrated to America. Louis and his siblings worked on the farm after school.
I hate doing that stuff, but I learned the strong work ethic that I picked up from my parents.
But as a teenager, Louis quickly got mixed up with the wrong crowd. He was expelled from high school and began working as a mechanic, cook, and a construction worker. One morning, Louis heard his parents getting up at 4 a.m. to work.
It was for me and my sisters, and that's when I had this extreme sense of guilt.
Louis decided to change his life and go to medical school. He would study early in the morning and go to class, then help his wife with their 3 kids. Now the former gang member is a heart and lung surgeon resident.
If you want something bad enough, you can make things happen.
If you want something bad enough, you have to make it happen. Great job, Louis. We'll be right back.
Promote.
Okay, 3, 2. I love crosswords and cross-stitching, but don't dare double-cross me. Wait, let me do it again. 3, 2. I love cross-stitching and crosswords, but don't you dare double-cross me.
She's late. Okay, Tori, what were we just doing?
We were just doing a promo for Daily Blast Live's reality roundups, and I got to play one of the people, the Real Housewives. And I got to turn, fall, hit my mark.
Why'd you fall?
Well, because I did fall.
Everyone's deserving of the comeback they're willing to earn.
Have you always wanted to be a housewife?
Secretly, yes.
Yeah?
I mean, look at their lives. They seem so glamorous.
I know.
And they always go on fun trips.
Yeah, they do get to go to really fun
trips. They're always
trips.
drinking Chardonnay. It doesn't
a little rosé.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like that.
They're always going to wine tastings.
I know. It sounds fabulous. I may love animals, but honey, you'll never see me behave like one. I don't like the drama though.
No drama.
Drama makes my stomach upset.
And anxiety, yeah.
And it gives me anxiety.
She'll never act like an animal.
Yeah, and you'll never see me behave like one.
Yeah, Lindsay's here too.
What are we doing? Are you coming with me again? Joe, clean this up.
Jeff, is becoming a housewife your
Sorry, I was channeling my housewife.
is becoming a housewife a dream of yours?
Don't tell me what to do, Mike.
We're almost done.
I'm trying to be a housewife on camera. I am seriously starting to get tired of this.
Oh my God.
Okay, bye.
Yay! I got one thing to say. Beat it.
Welcome back to DBL. We have a quick update on a story. It's Lindsay's mom. She just texted. What happened?
My mom went off on me and said, quote, "When They See Us" was based on a, all caps, true story, which impacted the lives of 5 men of color by incarceration. It is not should, it is must watch. This is reality. This is racism. In order to prevent something like this from repeating itself, people must open their eyes. Power and Game of Thrones are fictional stories. Wake up.
Wow. She's talking to you.
Yeah, okay, so here's the deal. What we were talking about is you were upset, let's say, about the Emmys because some of your shows weren't nominated, like Power. And your mom is like, I don't care because When They See Us
was nominated. And not to take away from one for the other. I still enjoy Power. I loved When They See Us.
What's your mom's name?
Susan Granger.
Susan!
Yeah.
Susan Granger.
Sorry, Mama.
Sorry, Mama. That's right. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Be good to each other.